Hey, hello there. This is Hannah MacKinnon from CoLiberated with this month's session for the CoLiberate session, Claim Your Worth. And these are steps for virtual assistants to release imposter syndrome and thrive. So, I want to ask a couple of things here. Have you ever struggled with just owning your worth? And have you ever just put your successes down to things like just sheer luck, flukes, or calling it good timing, or even just, oh, I've got good connections, that kind of thing? Have you ever found yourself observing your accomplishments and yet feeling like a fraud and like, oh gosh, they're going to find me out, despite the evidence in front of, yours and everyone's faces that this is your accomplishment? Do you ever feel uncomfortable about praise for a job well done? That kind of thing. And such thoughts and nagging feelings, they're often given the generic term of imposter syndrome. So it's covering those feelings that we are somehow undeserving of praise, undeserving of acknowledgement, successes, and even opportunities. So if any of that kind of rings familiar for you, then this Co-Liberate session is for you. And it's time to look at what's going on and turn things around. So there's something, about us, our thoughts about ourselves, our self-concept, the way the image we have of ourselves and our behaviors. Often as not, they get mirrored right back at us. And I think really pretty much the majority of the time they do. And it's kind of like the way in which others relate to, respond, and behave towards us. So, if you think about the relationships that you have, and, particularly, we're talking here about the ones you have with your clients or those future potential clients, you can see the value and importance of nurturing a really positive concept. I was thinking about this actually a bit earlier today, and it was like, I was remembering, something about my childhood and certainly throughout my early adulthood is that I had this really strong feeling of myself just not fitting in and, being a peg in a round hole, that kind of thing. And, I could see that had an impact. I could really feel that had an impact on how I was around people. As a child, of course, this would be school, sometimes Sunday school when I felt like going, dance classes, music groups, all that kind of thing. And of course, that all kind of reflected back in how people were able to be around me as well. Certainly there's some positives about that too, but yeah, it really sort of brought that home to me just thinking about that. But anyway, we're going to get started now. So, you can just stop and pause this video anytime you like because you're going to be writing things down. So make sure you got a refreshment if you'd like one. Definitely want, something to write with. And then we can go ahead and get started. So the first step here, we're going to do this in steps, is look at the who am I. So what does your current self-concept actually look like? What I suggest we do here is just take your sheet of paper and make two columns. And in that left column, you can write down all the positive concepts that you can think of about yourself. So, this is going to be things like your personal traits, your values, and your strengths, the things that you're bringing into the world and sharing with the world. So, it could be stuff like, for example, I always deliver on time, I'm really reliable, or, I'm great at customer service, people really like and relate to me. I'm really, really fantastic at content creation. I'm a fast learner, whatever it is that comes to you, get it all down in that left-hand column. Now, once you've done that in the right-hand column, you're going to write down anything that you maybe have a less than positive concept of yourself about currently. And this can be where you have self-doubt, where you don't have so much confidence, or where you feel you have some weaknesses. So for example, it could, but things that are important to you, of course. So it could be things like, oh gosh, I don't feel confident about consultations with potential clients. I get really freaked out and stressed out about it, and or I'm no good at setting healthy boundaries with clients, and that causes friction and stress with my client relationships. Or everybody does X task so much better than me. So just write all that stuff down, and then I'll see you back in the next step. Okay, so the second step, we're going to challenge the negative. Now, if you're looking through what you wrote down in the previous step on the right column, you can leave aside, the left column for now. It's important because this is all the really positive stuff that that leapt to your mind as positive about you and things you like, that you're bringing to the table. But, for the right column, you want to now kind of challenge that a bit, and ask yourself some questions about each statement you wrote down. And these are your beliefs about yourself that you made about yourself. So, you could be asking yourself things like, is this statement, about myself actually supporting me in my goals, as a virtual assistant? Does the statement about myself, provide, is it really a fair assessment of where I'm at? And does the statement reflect as the person I actually want to show up, be showing up as? So yeah, go through each of these statements you wrote down and really sort of challenge and question yourself, is it true? That kind of thing. Is it supporting me? Is this kind of belief about myself supporting me? And is it, the likelihood is not. If you're looking at the example, you're getting really freaked out at the thought of, doing a consultation with a potential client, there can be a number of reasons for that. So, don't be hard on yourself either. If you're just starting out, or you've not, so far you've not really had opportunity to do too many client consultations or any, then, of course you're going to be feeling a bit freaked out about that, and, maybe not as confident as you will do when you've, got a few under your belt and you're more used to being in that sort of situation. But of course, looking at it, you're going to think, well, yeah, this is actually really quite important to me to change this, feeling, because otherwise, this is definitely not, reflecting the person I want to show up as. I want to come across as confident, I want to come across, as somebody who knows what they're doing, and give the impression that you want to your potential client in this instance. So yeah, just go ahead and do that, and see where you really want things to be. Once you've done that, we're going into the third step, and this is about the mindset upgrade. So this step is really about selecting and choosing who you now want to be. Now that you've done the first couple of steps and taken a look at, anything that's just not really that where you want, your self-concept isn't what you want it to be. So how we're going to do this, or how I suggest you would do this, is going back to your statements, the ones that are, those old negative statements or unhelpful ones. You want to reframe those into believable supportive statements that are going to support who you are now choosing to be. So take for example, you've maybe written down something, oh gosh, everybody does X task so much better than me. Well, you want to make this believable. You could just flip it all around and go, hey, I'm brilliant at X task, but deep down, you're not. You need a bit of practice to get there. So, you could reframe it in a couple, in a whole variety of ways, and I'll just give you an example. Like, For example, you could say, okay, every day I get better at X task and I feel my confidence growing daily, or whatever. Or my clients so appreciate my can-do attitude and my willingness to learn. So now you're going to go through and do your reframing statements for all your old self-concept statements, and you're going to reframe them into something, into what you're now choosing to be. So if you do that for each statement, and I will see you at the next stage. Okay, so the last step we're going to look at is, now you've made those decisions, this is about the becoming. You've done the reframing, now it's about being that person going forwards. So you've decided who you're going to be showing up going forwards. This new upgraded you with a great self-concept, of course. But the thing is, this is just the start. From this point on, this is going to take a little bit of effort and some commitment on your part. It doesn't need to take up a lot of your time. But, you know, if you want to make the changes and make changes that are going to last for you, become habits, you've got to get behind yourself. Now, the way I would suggest you do this is that you take those new positive reframe statements, you know, have them all typed out or written out, and have them where you can read them aloud to yourself at least once a day. Ideal time, of course, is, you know, going to be as early as possible. So, you know, it could even be before you get out of bed. It's up to you. You could be doing it over a cup. I love, you know, reading out statements like that, you know, while I'm having my first coffee of the day. Or maybe even when you're sitting down to start work before you get, you know, get torn into your work, that you give yourself this positive boost at the start. But the thing about this is, and you're going to be really nice to yourself about this as well, is you are going to catch yourself throughout the day. You're going to start noticing that you're reverting to some of these old self-concept statements or ways of being and thinking. So, you know, don't be tough on yourself at all, because it's actually really positive. This is your awareness expanding. You're becoming aware that you're reverting. So all you need to do really is just say, hey, well, thank you very much for showing up, old self-concept, but, you know, that's not me anymore. And just simply reaffirm your new positive concept, whether that's aloud or you need to do that in your head, you know, depending on the, you know, who's round and about you. Yeah, you know, just start doing that, making it a habit that these are your statements for the day. And you're going to be repeating them and repeating them often. When you catch yourself out, just, you know, redirect your thoughts into, hey, that's not me anymore. So we've completed the steps now. So let's just get, you know, clear about something. It's us. We get to choose and revamp our self-concept just whenever we like. Nothing here is set in stone. We always have the option to choose to tweak, improve, or strengthen, you know, this kind of stuff whenever we like. This has got nothing to do, you know, with anyone outside of ourselves. This is about us, you know. So the opinions and the judgments that, you know, that could maybe come from friends, family, your mentors, your friends, peers, whatever, you know, that doesn't matter. It's how you want to think about yourself, and you're in control of that. And this was really, you know, the intention behind doing this session today. You know, I just really wanted to give you some very simple steps, just let you look, you know, at where you're at and give you the steps, but just overcoming anything that might be standing in the way of you having anything but a strong, positive self-concept, you know, of you, you know, in order to support you to thrive in your virtual assistant business. So, you know, all the best with that. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Now, if you know, if the Simon would like to talk privately and in a bit more depth about anything that we have covered here in this session, or anything else that might come up for you, do go and have a look at the friendship call service, and it's over at my website on CoLiberated.com/friendship calls. And if you did pop in there, you're going to find that there's a free friendship connection call in there too. I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to go and book one of those in. It's just a really great, no strings way to get to know each other a bit and look at how I could potentially support you. So here is my website and my socials, the links for those. So you can, if you want to get in touch in any kind of means, that's where we can connect as well. And about me, just a bit about me before we close. I'm Hannah MacKinnon, the founder of CoLiberated, which is the place to set you free from moods that hold you back, or simply just receive that warm hug of friendship, companionship, and accountability. So as you can probably hear, I'm from the UK, but I actually have been living in Guatemala since 2010, and have been serving clients online since 2013. Now, something that I know is that negative moods that go unaddressed do not serve us. And it's been proven they can impact our health, our relationships, career, pretty much every aspect of our lives. So the thing is, when we look at what our moods are actually telling us and take steps to shift them, this is when the incredible changes can happen for us. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, hope to catch up with you in the virtual co-working space or over on any of my socials or website. Bye for now.